Yo guys, it's sorry you already know that today we are back reading some more Danganronpa Zero. The last time we witnessed a very interesting conversation slash event between Junko and Matsuda, and today we are going to be reading Chapter 7 and going on from there. I mentioned before that the document that I had was not like properly labeled past Chapter 7, and I scrolled through and I couldn't find any other chapters past Chapter 7, so I went and looked around. I found a different place to read Danganronpa Zero at, and I kind of scrolled through, and this one does have properly labeled chapter, which just really helps me in terms of titling my videos and knowing when to stop and whatnot. So I believe I mentioned that at some point that I think there's supposed to be like 17 chapters, and I do think that that is true. So now I have found a more properly labeled one. I don't know if the translation is going to be that much different or not. But just so you're aware, that's why things look a little different, and if anything is a little different translation-wise, that would be why, but I don't expect it to be that much different. So, I think Chapter 7 is going to be a decently lengthy chapter. However, there are some shorter chapters coming up, that we'll be able to knock out more than one at a time. But today is just going to be Chapter 7, and, yeah, hopefully y'all are excited, and, this is what I'm going to use for, until I'm done with the novel, so. Yep, that is all I have, so let's go ahead and jump into Chapter 7 and see what happens next. It was at that moment that I woke up out of the blue, and my consciousness returned to me. I couldn't help but feel completely refreshed, and, thank goodness, I said without realizing. For a long time, I was having an awful nightmare, but that's over now. I was finally free of my long-lasting nightmare, or maybe not. Somehow I felt like this place also belonged to my nightmare, because if that wasn't the case, then why else would I be in this room? The walls, the ceiling, the floor, everything was covered with concrete. I couldn't see any doors or windows. Why would I be in such a strange room? Where am I? At least I was certain this place wasn't my room. No matter how forgetful I could get, I know I would never live in such an eerie room without a good reason for doing so. Don't tell me I've been arrested or something. I don't super remember what happened with Ryouko the last time that we saw her, and why she would be here. Arrested, my words bounced off the cold gray concrete. I thought I could hear a man coming to my room, stamping his feet with a thumping sound. It was really just the monster we've come to call loneliness. I can't find the exit. It was that time I sat up quickly. I realized I've been sleeping on a bed. The bed had a pretty pink, princess-style canopy with an antique feel that little girls everywhere would have wanted. But oddly enough, it was standing alone in the middle of a bare concrete room. The contrast between the delicate decorations of the bed and the bare minimum on the walls only added to the overall creepiness of the room. In addition, there were other parts of the room that were missing altogether. If this room was perfectly complete, then it would have furniture and a door, but this room was absolutely missing those factors. As I finished analyzing my surroundings quickly, the monster I spoke of earlier began to get to work. My fear and anxiety felt like it turned to pitch black tar, and it felt as though it wanted to steal my freedom of movement. Ooh, a moan stuck past my shaking and trembling lips. I don't know what that's supposed to be. The room's outline and shape started to slowly distort. Tears began to appear in my eyes, but it's no use crying over this situation. No use to cry. I held out for dear life, and despite my intention to hold them back, the tears that had gathered in my eyes began spilling out. Good morning, madam? Startled, I realized it was a female maid standing next to the wall. Good morning, madam. The voice came from it. It really is a girl. I could see the girl's face behind her clothes, but only the face of her mask. Due to her mask, I couldn't determine her actual appearance. The mask in question was an eerie bear mask, which filled me with bad feelings. The right half was a white cute bear, the left half was a black evil bear. Alright, we have Monokuma. Let's go. The girl wearing maid clothing faced me and spoke to me in a happy tone. Good morning, madam. I prepared some tea for your morning routine. I don't think I'm a madam. The girl didn't appear to hear me as she simply walked over to me and shoved the silver tray she held onto me. On top of the tray was a teacup with a floral pattern on it. She rose with the teacup and disappeared into the air. Thank you. My throat was parched after waking up in a desperate need of moisture. Forgetting my prior caution, I picked up the teacup and drank the tea in it. Uh-oh. Ooh, we got Monokuma maid offering tea to Ryouko, so interesting. Too cold, disgusting, it's so weak. Incredibly, it was a 3-time loser. The tea was too cold. Unable to hide my expression, I placed the teacup back on the tray. I shall be taking my leave now, the bear maid said as she turned on her heel and began to walk somewhere. Wait, where are you going? I quickly called out. What was that? As the bear maid asked me as she knocked on the wall in front of me. Just like in a ninja temple, after she knocked once, the wall rotated around. A hidden door? Well, I mean, you had to get in there somehow. At the time when we built this facility, we wanted to adhere to Madam's sense of playfulness. The playfulness is fine, but I'm leaving. I raised my voice, feeling desperate. The bear mouse tilted to the side. Just because you want to leave doesn't mean you should leave. This time, it was my own face tilting to the side. Even if I want to leave, I can't. What the hell? Am I being confined here? Confined? The surprised voice echoed off the walls. Confinement? That's a bit of a leap in logic. The baremaid's shoulders shook with laughter. Just because I appear to be doesn't mean I am laughing. I didn't... On the contrary, I am filled with sadness beyond compare. Her shoulders, shook more. I'm saddened because you are such an interesting person. I'm afraid I cannot make sense of your jokes. As is currently, I don't think I'll ever fulfill my dream of having Mono Bear leaving everything to me. How sad. The baremaid hunched over, looking heartbroken. I don't think I understand. I don't understand either. But for the time being, just how do I get out of here? Can you show me? As I prompted the girl, she moved to the hidden door. I looked around the room and to find my bag behind my bed. Sorry, wait a second. I quickly got out of bed and picked up my bag. I felt a familiar weight. There was no mistaking it was mine. Now, time to get out of here, I said, pushing the baremaid to the side as I left the room of concrete behind me. What awaited me outside the room was a strange sight indeed. It was a wide space that looked like a hall, but it was just like the previous room. This room's ceilings, walls, and floor were all covered in nothing but concrete. However, even though the room itself was wide, the ceiling was very low, and it made me feel like I was cooped up. A fluorescent light hung from the ceiling, illuminating the concrete, which only added to the bleakness of the room. Inside the room there, I counted around 50 legs belonging to school desks, each evenly spaced throughout the room. At every desk, there was a person sitting behind it. There were various men and women, all wearing the same school uniform. Furthermore, on the faces, they all wore, again, bear masks. Okay. That right half a white, cute bear, that left half a black evil bear. And that bear sure seems popular, doesn't it? The maid next to me, wearing the the same mask, answered me, that's not a bear. That is Mono Bear. I wonder, because I know Kuma is bear. Should I just be saying Monokuma instead of Mono Bear? I feel like I probably should be, and translation is like, they probably translated it too literally. I'm just going to refer to Mono Bear as like Monokuma. I didn't really care about the name at all. All I could see was many men and women all sitting at school desks wearing the same school uniform with weird and creepy masks. There was nothing else I could focus on apart from the strange scene in front of me. Even so, I noticed the front of the Monokuma heads still seated at their desks were monitors. The Monokuma heads all stared at the monitors, almost like they were preparing to eat them. From where I stood, I could only see the back of the monitors. I had no idea what kind of video they were playing. All the same, they appeared to be focusing all their attention to them. They were motionless, staring patiently at the monitors with all the vitality of a mannequin. I, on the other hand, felt like I had found myself in an empty graveyard. What are these people? When I asked timidly, the Monokuma maid answered with a serious tone. We are mutants. Everyone is oppressed, and so we barred ourselves away. You had to? We wanted to. Instead of hope? Please pay attention. Mutants and such have excellent capabilities. For the most part, we have not been oppressed. On the other hand, we believe it would be a waste to not hold back our abilities, at least a little. Thus, we would like to experience oppression in some form. I couldn't understand. I couldn't understand what the girl was saying at all. For the time being, I instead tried to change the topic. By the way, I was wondering where this place is. I was waiting for that, the Monokuma maid answered in a proud tone. This is our secret society, of course. Not secret society. Her words seemed too childish, and her childishness seemed too unexpected. If anything, I doubted her words. I thought perhaps it was some kind of metaphor, but no matter how much I thought about it, I couldn't think of any other meaning for her words. She must have been telling it as it was. Secret society, though. No one does that stuff anymore. How would you know? They're secret. Secret society for mutants? That's unreasonable. It surely mean unreasonably cool. I should mention, us mutants all belong to the preparatory school. This is a preparatory school secret society. Preparatory school? Finally, something I could believe was true. I felt like she had left an important clue in our conversation, so I took out Ryouko Sanashi's memory notebook out of my bag and looked for any memory about the preparatory school. I found it. I remembered. The preparatory school is... I don't really know. All I had written in my notebook was that it existed and nothing else. It couldn't be helped. I would have to ask about it straight up. Have the people from the preparatory school always known about this? Not always. If we imposed, then our secret society wouldn't be a secret anymore. A secret society must act as a secret society, and so we must move as a secret society. Isn't it still imposing to create a base here? You can't keep it a secret, can you? I must insist you refrain from saying such strange things, Monokuma maid suddenly sounded angry. I've yet to hear anyone claim of our existence. Here in the basement beneath the West District, we have quietly and silently created our secret society. Do you understand? Now, the West District is most suitable for the secret society. Due to the fact that the reserve students and staff are located in the West District, it means regular staff do not visit anywhere near as much as they would otherwise. Furthermore, there's very little extracurricular activity here, and clubs meet in the club rooms, and also this is the basement of a club room belonging to an now inactive mystery study group. That makes it more opportune. In the West District, beneath an abandoned club room belonging to an inactive mystery study group, there's a basement. And that's this place? I looked around again. There was a slight feeling of being trapped within such a wide hall. Even so, there were several doors throughout the hall's walls. There seemed to be another small room at the back of the hall. Across the hall diagonal to me, I saw an entrance to another passageway. It looked like it could be a fairly long one at that. I couldn't see the end of it at all. Such a large basement really be underground here? You don't believe me? The Monokuma maid asked, suppressing her laugh. It seems to be so much easier to not believe me. That's why it isn't despairing. Fair. As I said that, I could feel something in the depth of my heart becoming uneasy. What a foul word. Instead, I tried to shake off that word quickly and ask a question which had appeared in my head. Anyway, I understand that you're a secret society, and I understand that this is your secret base, but why are you in a secret society to begin with? The Monokuma maid looked surprised before answering me in a straightforward manner. The parade? I muttered quietly as I flicked through my notebook. The parade is a demonstration from the reserve students who felt dissatisfied with Hope Academy's education system, right? It's not a demonstration, it's a revolution, the girl corrected me with much force. Eh? Woo-hoo, it's so exciting, it's just a revolution to change Hope Academy in the world. My heart's racing just thinking about it. A revolution? What did this person just say? And so, in order to complete our revolution, we must destroy Hope Academy's perfect little fantasy world. The school pushes for hope too much, all the while it torments and harasses its surroundings. If this continues, then the school's super high school level hope will never be crushed and... wait a second, I interrupted the Monokuma maid. There were a few words I missed for some reason. What's super high school level hope? The Monokuma maid raised her voice in exclamation. You're trying to test me with your words, aren't you? That's quite alright, I'll answer your question in a flawless manner. I wonder why she's taking so much time to talk about such an apparently important matter. I mean, if the society is so secret, then they shouldn't have to bother keeping secrets, right? But with all this extra unnecessary speech to use, she seemed very happy that someone was listening to her story. Super high school level hope is the absolute talent which surpasses all other talent, a genius among geniuses, the pinnacle of human evolution, so to speak. Yes, that is super high school level hope. Ta-da! That was my flawless explanation. Sorry, I stopped paying attention. That's so rude. Seriously? The Monokuma maid looked shocked. Anyway, the girl crossed her arms, and after some groaning, she continued, I'm ready now. Seems like she's ready now. What does that mean? The hope we use in super high school level hope's meaning is a little different from the everyday use of the word hope. What we call hope refers to a talent so great it can be called the hope of humanity. In other words, what we call super high school level hope is the owner of the most superior talent. So then you mean an incredible genius? But talented in every way possible. A perfect superhuman. But isn't that cheating? I mean, yes, kind of. Well, I suppose it does sound unbelievable. The Monokuma maid's tone changed to a mildly offended one. Like the setting out of a make-believe story. Hope Academy's mascot has been given so much goddamn VIP treatment that they're on a platter outside of her reach. I'd be cheating by anyone's standards. Aren't you angry? I've not yet decided. Despite her words, the Monokuma maid's entire body seemed to be overcome by anger. We'll be going against Hope Academy's research and nurturing of super high school level hope. Seems to have a large budget. Even so, its existence is hidden even to the student body. We do not know the details as to whether it is in fact a classified project, but it is entirely frustrating. I admit it, it's more frustrating than anything I've ever experienced. That research funding is being taken out of the preparatory school's precious budget. The school is literally stealing our money and our hope and devoting it entirely to super high school level hope. They're using us as a launch pad for their stupid little make-believe story. Is that what this school calls hope? If it's for the sake of that ultimate talent, they don't care what they have to say about it? Is it not worth to even think about those with no talent? Well, calm down a little. Or not. Stop joking the hell around. For God's sake, just what is hope? The girl refused to even listen to me. Aren't people chosen by talent so goddamn great? And the people who wait, aren't they great too? What bullshit, that's not fair. That's just elitist. It's fine if all us useless earthlings die just for the sake of the celestial few, isn't it? Right? I'm right, aren't I? Oi! There was no longer any way for me to stop her onslaught of verbal abuse. Bullshit, that hope that they praise as being so mighty is covered in bullshit. Every little hope in this school is covered in bullshit. Oh, incoming. The festival shit is on its way. Shit, bullshit! Okay, her words overflowed with nothing but hatred. Her hatred was not half-baked either. It was a hatred like a deadly poison. She seemed to be referring to not just super high school level hope, but also Hope Academy itself, and furthermore, the very concept of hope, etc. I wrote all this in my notebook, but soon my hand came to a stop. Huh? I returned my attention to the notebook. Originally, is what I would say, considering this notebook fundamentally acts as my memory. Originally, I was suspended from school. It also mentions super high school level hope, the parade, the preparatory school, and Hope Academy. Oh, this has nothing to do with me. This has absolutely nothing to do with Ryouko Otanashi. It has nothing to do with me. I said so quietly I doubted it was audible to anyone. My words sounded so dry. It was like a desert. It had seated itself deep inside me. What do I have to do? The Monokuma maid took a deep breath and looked shyly at me. She looked like she had finally calmed down. Nothing. That's right, since the situation has nothing to do with me, so then I should quickly escape from this place. That also has nothing to do with me. Hey, do you happen to know where the bathroom is? I need to excuse myself for a moment. And is it number 1 or number 2? Do I really need to announce myself before going? No, but you see, we only have one bathroom, so if someone were to use it for number 2, then it would have disastrous consequences for others who wish to make use of it. It's Die Hard, it's Dino Daibukin, it's Die and Cries. Okay. Okay, for now, I'll just go to the bathroom, I said, and began to run like I was escaping. Well, to put it more exactly, I was running while actually planning to escape. More importantly, there was no real sense for me to be in this place because it had nothing to do with me. It's at the end of the hall. Are you fine without a map? The Monokuma maid called as I ran away. The end of the hall? As I heard her, I could see the end of the hall growing closer and closer. I fled to the other side of the hall between the Monokuma heads that were still at their desks. They didn't even bother to glance at me. Their eyes were still plastered to the monitors in front of them. Just what is it they're so engrossed in? I knew it had nothing to do with me, but curiosity had taken over my otherwise calm appearance, so I looked back. Huh? It was completely black. Every monitor was a pitch black. None had a single image projecting on it. It'll start again soon, so... Monokuma head sitting in front of me said a monotone. Phase 1 just ended. Phase 2 is now beginning. Interrupting, the robotic words were spoken in unison. The monitors all lit up. Speak Academy presents young people. Test the true extent of your hope to win. You've all proved yourselves to be more talented than anyone else. For your own hope, you must kill more than anyone else has. The finals in mutual killing has now begun. Phase 2. He used a lot of flashing words, taking up a full screen. Even the local television stations refused to use it to such an extent nowadays. What the heck? Such a question appeared in my head for a moment, but it was truly only for a moment. The image on the screen changed. It changed to red. It was almost like each monitor had completely covered in bright red cellophane. I looked closely, and in the red, I saw something wriggle. What seemed to be a person, I suppose. In the room of red, the walls and floor were dyed crimson. I couldn't make out distinct features, but a body covered in red rising from the ground, wriggling and writhing like a worm. The camera captured it all in bird's eye view. At first, I thought it was some sort of avant-garde dance or obscure video art, but I soon realized that was not the case. Immediately afterwards, the stumbling person wandered to both sides of the screen. The clothing he wore was almost completely covered in blood, even though I could tell it was a uniform from Hope's Academy. As the man dragged a foldable chair loosely behind him, someone was begging on his hands and feet before him. The man passed the foldable chair to his other hand and swung it up. When it was over the top of his head, he swung it down and... Huh? I couldn't grasp what had just happened. I just continued to stare at the monitor, dumbfounded. The foldable chair was swung down an innumerable amount of times. He continued to swing it down on the groveling man without hesitation. The camera's angle changed and showed the face of the man swinging the chair close up. He seemed to be shouting something over and over again. Turn up the sound. The Monokuma head sitting in front of me turned up the volume on his monitor. I could hear his yells emitted from the monitor. His voice only grew louder and became heart-wrenching screams. I don't want to die. Apart from the anguished cries, I could hear another sound ringing out. Squelch, splat. Sounded like yogurt and cartilage being mashed together. Every time the man swung down the chair, a sound would ring out. I'm squish. Not bad. Splat. It's not my fault. Slash. So squish. I'm not bad. Squish. At that point, the foldable chair broke, but the boy groveling in front of him was long past broken. His head was beyond recognition. Instead of looking like a squashed tomato someone had dropped around, it was a mixture of blood and brain fluid. I was beyond the ability to adequately communicate my level of horror. In the monitor, the skull was split open and the corpse was spilling out its fluids. I couldn't look away from the body. I couldn't even move at all. I stared at the monitor, stunned and totally dumbfounded. That's enough. The man in the monitor said to himself as he shook and trembled. I've already killed this other two. That should be enough. The boy's words were interrupted by the sound of thick glass breaking. Before he could come to his senses, another man stood behind him with a bottle in hand. Without warning, the newcomer beat the first man down with a single blow aimed at his head. As the man clutched desperately at his face with both hands, he roared out like a wounded animal. Suddenly, with some abruptness, he ran from the room, thrashing in agony. Wait! The ambusher tailed after him with unsteady steps. The image on the screen once again changed. Instead, it now showed a corridor. In the corridor was a running man whose face was drenched in blood. Small pieces of glass had embedded themselves into his eyes and caused him to bleed. Save me! He screamed out in a slurred voice. His mouth seemed to open and morph into the shape of a grin, but of course that was not the case. His lips were torn open, he was not long able to close them. Standing in front of him was a trembling girl. The girl stood alone in the gloomy corridor, holding a cleaver tightly in her hands. Her creepy appearance filled even me with fear. However, the man running didn't even see her. As he screamed in pain, he ran towards her. As the girl readied herself into a defensive position, she thrusted her cleaver up. At that moment, the boy swung down his head. Squelch! The cleaver sunk into the skull on impact. The shards of glass stuck in his eyes were thrown out. The man continued to run forward for a few steps before finally collapsing. As the girl's entire body shook and trembled violently, she patiently stared at the corpse. I don't want to die. I had to... The volume of the monitor wavered with a trembling voice. Behind her, I could see the figure of another high school student with an iron pipe in his hand, sneaking towards her. I finally managed to look away. It was nothing but a movie made in bad taste. In ridiculously bad taste. This was some sort of video the reserve students had made, right? In that case, it really was scary. More than scary, it was bursting with realism. The dead people were an image that could be associated with cold, which in turn could be associated easily with the illusion of death. The warm blood seeping from the bodies of those dead is incomparable to the heat emitted from the bodies during the time of their life. It fogged up the lens of the camera with the humidity. It was like an immense heat that followed death. But just what on earth is going on? It's just so insignificant, isn't it? Much to my surprise, one of the Monokuma heads sitting in front of me, still staring at his monitor, asked me, "This is Hope? This thing is Hope?" Yeah, I'm assuming they're watching the video of the classroom murder, like the 14, 16, however many students there were, all sort of killing each other. The reserve course, yeah, I think they're all reserve course students. Yeah, I think so. I don't super remember, but I think so. The boy murmured, sounding honestly uninterested. He spoke sounding completely immersed in despair. At some time in their life, everyone will come to a point where they only think of themselves, and so it's mutual killing. Up until this point, people would say it's important to have hope, and so they'll do anything to protect it. People like us have abandoned that nasty habit. After all, it's just an insignificant little thing. He seemed irritated at his own words. His irritation only became more apparent as he spoke. Suddenly, he began to breathe heavily. How long have you been watching this? Always? Not always. We've only seen it 5,818 times. Did he say 5,818 times? Huh? I felt sweat run down my already soaked back. No matter how many times someone could say this video was fake, it continued to replay through my head. By only watching it once, my brain seemed inclined to believe it was real. This really is something I shouldn't get myself involved in. I have to escape right now. I really thought that this video was gonna like do something to her. Like this video like might like brainwash her or something, which would be a little scary. But we'll see. This really shouldn't something I shouldn't get myself involved in. I have to escape right now. I raised my line of sight up until I met someone else's eyes. On the other side of the hall, the Monokuma maid looked at me with patient eyes. She waved with her hand. I only felt more tempted to run away. I felt chills rise up through my spine. As if trying to run from the video that tormented my mind, I dived into the passage at the back of the hall. The sound of my footsteps echoed through the dark corridor. Once again, the walls, floors, and ceilings were all covered in concrete. Concrete. The passageway was covered in concrete too. It didn't seem wide enough for more than one adult to fit in. I felt an overwhelming sense of claustrophobia. The only light I saw was the dim, concealing lighting that illuminated my feet. The space was overcome by a strange atmosphere. I ran down the passageway, and suddenly I realized I had no idea why I was running down a passageway. Anxiety took hold of me. I continued to run down this endless passageway for what felt like a lifetime for me. As I ran through the passageway, all that appeared in my mind was how much I wanted to get out of it. My feet suddenly stopped moving. In front of me, another concrete wall stood in my way. It seemed like I reached a dead end. To both my left and my right were bare concrete walls, but on the concrete wall in front of me, I saw a door leading to another small passageway. Is this the exit? Holding that belief in my heart, I reached out to the door with my hand. It didn't need a key or anything. The door opened easily. I peeked behind it with high hopes. I felt a bout of deja vu. Just more concrete. It was a small room with its walls, floor, and ceiling all covered in concrete, but at the back of the room was a bizarre spectacle. Two parallel sets of iron bars. A jail cell? I walked forward carefully and stood in front of the bar grate to my right first. On the other side of the bars floated a dark black mist. A chilly, cool, and ominous air drifted out from the darkness. I timidly tried to look at the other side of the grate. "Who's there?" a voice called out from inside the darkness. My heart jumped in shock. Eek! Who's there? I heard the hoarse voice of an old man. He sounded like he was being overly cautious of something awful. There? Where do you mean? My shaking voice bounced off the walls. From the back of the cell, a shadowed silhouette appeared. They remained seated in a chair with their head hanging down as if they were asleep. Are you okay?" Even so, the person showed no sign of hearing me. I turned my head to the side. No use anymore. The voice did not come from the cell in front of me as I had expected, but instead the cell next to it. He hasn't been responding since yesterday. Don't you know it's useless? Useless? What's useless? I once again looked at the cell in front of me. My eyes slowly adjusted to the darkness, the face becoming downward, blanketed in darkness, slowly becoming more clear. The face had lost its vitality. His surprising long dark red tongue wallowed out of his mouth sloppily. I knew at first glance he wasn't sleeping. He was dead. Eek! I screamed as I stepped back and subsequently ended up landing on the floor after misjudging my footing. It seemed so real. The possibility of the corpse before me being fake hadn't come to my mind at all. The situation had become more scary than anything I had ever experienced in my recollection. Shivers ran through my body so much I felt almost like it hurt. He dead? He's dead. The cold air passed through my lips and I felt unable to breathe. I quickly tried to gulp down a lungful of air with a heavy sob. It was at this point when I heard the old man's voice sounding surprised. "Why is it that you're panicked? You're a comrade of those people, right?" I flicked through Ryouko's and Nachi's memory notebook with trembling hands. I almost immediately recalled the memory of the reserve students. "Of course not. Please don't want me together with those people wearing the strange masks." "So you're not wearing a mask? What a strange question. Can't you tell by looking?" I stood up, stumbling unsteadily like a newborn deer. I walked clumsily in front of the adjacent cell where I heard the man's voice. I could see the figure of a man hunched over on a chair. "I can't see." "Huh?" The old man raised his head. The area where his eyes should have been on the wrinkled face, I saw two dark indents instead. It wasn't covered by shadows. It was a fine black stitching, like it had been done by a sewing machine. Blood oozed from the stitches and dried within the yarn. It had all come together in a pitch black mass, preventing the man from opening his eyelids. I felt a severe bout of nausea as my stomach threatened to empty itself. It covered my mouth with my hands quickly. You seem surprised seeing this. You really aren't with them. The old man's voice suddenly changed to a pleading tone. Please, can't you help me? Help me escape from this place. I couldn't thank you enough, so I'm begging you. I don't know for sure if this is not, but I know that there was at least one, maybe two dead bodies that like mysteriously disappeared. Or does that have to do with anything down here or not? I'm not sure if that's a connection or not. Yeah, help me escape, I'm begging you. Because of the skin around the desperately begging man's eyes, it was almost impossible to discern his expression. What happened? I asked a simple question with a sob. They locked us in separate cells. They wouldn't kill whoever they broke the jaw of. That's what they said. They wouldn't kill whoever they broke the jaw of? We cheered each other on at first, but the cheering was too much to bear. We were scared. If only we thought of betraying them earlier. There wasn't a choice. So the old man's voice somehow went even lower. So they broke my jaw. He faced the other set of iron bars. The dead body from the other cell wandered through the back of my mind. I wondered briefly why I had not forgotten about it yet. Hey, why don't we make a deal? The old man's voice sounded like a begging once more. He suddenly started to talk again. If it's about what I know, then we should talk. You came here to hear about it, right? In exchange, you can help me escape from here. How does that sound? Okay, I answered somewhat automatically and instantly regretted doing so. It really is better to be the one who isn't involved. Even after saying I'd help him escape, I wasn't sure how to do it. More and more regret began to pile up, but even so, the man with the ruined eyes story had already begun a long time ago. The people from the preparatory school had tried to find out from me about a person's location. They called him Izuru Kamakura. For the time being, I decided it would be the best choice to listen to the old man's story. Either way, it didn't seem like I had any real choice. I'd have time to think about it after the story. I do not know where they found out, but they knew for a fact that we were hiding Kamakura. If they found out where he is, they'd be a heartbeat away from true power. True power. I felt my jaw tightly shut at such a cruel sound. Their goal to crush the school, using the existence of Izuru Kamakura, to overthrow Hope's Peak Academy from its very foundations. Did you say crush? I suddenly cried out. That's too much. Hope's Peak Academy is crushed. I won't be able to see Matsuda-kun anymore. So you have something, and you have to do something and find a way to stop the preparatory school. What can I do? If this keeps up, we'll be handing Kamakura to the preparatory school on a silver platter, and there's no mistaking it. It'll be the end of Hope's Peak Academy. Even if you say that, the old school building, Izuru Kamakura is there. Oh. Please wait, I ended the conversation prematurely with an interruption. Quickly, I wrote in Ryouko Tanachi's memory notebook, old school building, but then, huh? I suddenly felt an attack of dizziness. I struggled to stay upright. What's happening? Until just a short time ago, we used to have a large amount of guards there. Officially speaking, before the demolition, we can no longer do that due to the danger, but that's not the real reason. In truth, it's because that's where we're hiding Izuru Kamakura. As I listened to his story distractedly, it happened again. I felt a dizziness beyond anything I could adequately convey. My vision was becoming a blur. As I stumbled, I laid my hand on the bars in front of me to steady myself. Up until now, everything I've said, I knew the old man speaking was right in front of me, and yet it felt like he was in the far distance. This is the whole story, as far as I know. Could you free me now? His voice sounded almost like it was being muffled. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it ring loudly in the back of my ears. Oi, what's the matter? Hurry up. The area around my eyes has been unbearably hot for a while now. I want to go to a doctor. Oi, did you hear me? I didn't. The beating in my ears was only growing louder. It completely drowned out all the sound. I couldn't hear anything anymore. I shouldn't be able to hear anything anymore, and yet I could hear a single eerie laugh. Boo 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 boo. Ooh, at the same time, I felt a presence behind me. A disgusting presence. It was like uncomfortably warm air blowing under the back of my neck. Boo 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 boo. Sensing it, my body began to shake and tremble. I couldn't say anything. Like I was paralyzed. The laugh grew louder and higher. It was almost like it was mocking me. Boo 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 boo! What's so funny? Even the older man's shout sounded like the autonomy. The voice became more intense. Boo 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 boo, over and over and over again. Why are you laughing? What's so funny? The old man shouted, his voice filled with uneasiness. He sounded angry and especially hoarse as he failed to grasp what was happening. Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! The laughing came to a halt. Boo boo! What a lovely face you're making. The voice was directed to the old man. But I said, you won't ever escape. Your face will only become more despair-induced, you know? What? Boo boo! The old man's face was filled with emotion. For a moment it flashed white. His reaction seemed impossibly odd. The laughing grew louder again. Ha ha ha! Boo boo boo! The laugh bounced off the concrete around the room, each echo overlaying another. Like a body with no soul, I stood still, dizzily swaying. The life was deprived from my entire body, making even small movements impossible. I couldn't even ignore the voices, only try to determine which was which. My consciousness reached its limit. Light, sound, and color had all disappeared at once. The scene before me twisted and skewed like paint dripping onto water. The old man on the other side of the iron bars also became blurred at the border of my vision. What? As I watched the distorting world in front of me, I murmured to myself, what is this? Soon the world would melt into a puddle of colors. Each color hardened into different shades. The colors then started to intermingle once again. The world changed to another world. Like a scene with a flowing river, I swayed with the current, and everything in front of me passed me by. Behind me was a giant open door. An avalanche of Monokuma heads poured out of it. Screams echoed from a direction of the cell. A puddle of bright red water appeared at my feet. I ran from it in my trance. Then darkness. What? I don't know what happened. It sounded like Junko showed up and then did something bad, but unless some sort of despair got a hold of Ryouko and then she was the one that was doing stuff without really realizing it. Okay. I don't know what's going to happen, or maybe they were listening and then the old man said about Izuru Kamakuro's location and then they know, so that's why they're coming in to I don't know, silence us both so that way they can go get him. I don't really know. So that's that was something, but yeah, that was chapter 7. Okay, so I don't really know how Ryouko ended up here, but that is interesting, I guess. So we'll see what happens as we keep reading. I think things are about to get really crazy. So yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of chapters left, but there are not that many pages left, so we should be able to knock out multiple chapters at a time from here on out, except for maybe 1 or 2 of them. We'll see. But yeah, that is that. So hopefully y'all have enjoyed this chapter of Danganronpa Zero, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. So until then, peace out.